Hey guys, what is up, and I welcome you to a very special League of Legends video. As I'm sure most of you know, I do main Zed, and I have made quite a lot of videos showcasing just the true potential of Zed, a lot of sweet plays and things like that. But in this video, I want to specifically focus on 3 advanced higher level techniques that you can do with Zed in order to outplay your opponents and do it with some style. The 3 different techniques that I will cover in this video also have different variations that I will mention as well. And a lot of the times they will work, however, some techniques are obviously harder than the others, but I will mention which ones are harder and which ones are a bit easier. Before we dive into the first one, let me quickly mention the 3 different ones that I will be covering. The first one I will cover is leading away your opponents from your shadow. Probably the easiest one of the 3. The second one is called wait and then ulti. This is probably the most riskiest one of the 3, but not the hardest. And the third one, probably the hardest one as well, is called the old school Zed, where a certain component of this trick is extremely difficult to pull off. So let's dive into the first trick, the leading away from the shadow. So I'm going to show you guys several examples of each technique and really dissect it so you guys have a better idea of just exactly how it works. So in this example, as I use my W to harass the Jace, I see the Kazakhs coming in and I know I have my W ready to go. So I ulti W to the other side, lead him away from my ultimate shadow. The second they chase me down there, I press R, go back to my ultimate shadow, and they pretty much can't catch up to me. Or in this case, they have to burn summoner spells to get at me. Taking another look in slow motion, just as the Kazakhs jumps in on me, I dodge it with my ulti, W instantly down to my other shadow, and look at that. They seem extremely confused because I can either just keep running downwards or I can always teleport back to my shadow. This is one of the best ways to keep several opponents busy and not knowing exactly where you'll be next. Here's another really good example. I ulti the Twitch, I W down instantly, and then they have no idea what to do. I go in the bush and I can press R anytime I want and go completely to the other side, or worst case scenario, just keep running downwards. Taking another quick look, as the Twitch finally died, look at this. I can easily go in this bush, either run down to my ally, or just go back to the other side and completely trick them out, and they have no idea how to follow me up. And the last example of this trick I will be showing is Bjergsen himself doing it as well. This is slightly more fancy, but it is very similar to the first example. The whole point is to try to make the opponent not have any time to react and do anything to you at all. And that's exactly what he did there. He knows that he cannot take many hits from Lucian. So he throws his W for the scout, sees the Lucian is completely on the other side, so he ultis, goes to the other shadow, puts some damage onto the Lucian with his Shadow Shuriken, goes back to the Shadow, procs his passive and flashes away to not give Lucian any chance, and make him really confused. But now let's talk about the second technique. This is the wait and then ulti. This is the most riskiest play because you're simply just baiting out the opponent's skill, expecting it to come out at a certain time and using your ultimate to dodge it. This works really well on someone like an Annie who likes to engage with Tibbers, or a Brand with the Q, or anyone that has some sort of CC ability. That is also a skill shot. This is also a technique that you will see pros do often. And the way it works is you throw your W, EQ harass, wait as long as you can, teleport to that shadow, either wait half a second or do one auto attack, and then follow up with ultimate. Because after that 1 second or so, you are expecting the enemy opponent to throw out their skill shot CC, like the Riven Stun in this case, and I completely dodge it with ultimate. But this doesn't always apply to CC type abilities. You can also use this to bait out certain skills. For instance, in this example, I'm trying to bait out the kill ultimate. So I do the exact same thing. I W, EQ harass, wait a couple seconds for the cooldowns. As I teleport to the shadow, I wait a bit more, and I pretty much make her think that I'm going in for the hard engage, and she instinctively pops her ultimate. And just as she does that, I ulti her right after because I know the mark will last longer than her ultimate, and pop her for the kill. Right there was the point where she expected my ultimate, but I simply waited longer, played the mind game, made her pop a skill and completely whiff it, and then followed up for the kill. And now let's go to the third technique. I call this one the old school Zed, where you play around with putting the shadow behind your opponent. There are 2 variations to this, and the first one I will show you is a much easier one. But it still looks really fancy, especially if you can do it really fast. The way this works is that you ulti your target, so Ziggs in this case, follow up, throw the W behind them, usually try and dodge a skill shot since you go behind them instantly, do more damage with the follow up, and then press R to go back to your original location, all very quickly. The whole point of this one is not only to dodge a skill shot, but also to be very mobile and make your opponent confused. Check out this example that I used in an earlier video. As the Udyr comes in for the stun, I ulti him, wait a bit, W behind him, dodge his Q, proc the passive with my auto attack, and then R back with the ignite and kill him. Looking at it one more time in slow motion, you want to assess the situation. I expect something to come out, so I instinctively use the W behind him, luckily dodges Q, proc my passive with my auto attack, and then easily get out with my ultimate shadow. But let's talk about the really difficult one. This one is more traditional of the old school Zed. The way this one works is that you pop your ulti, the second you land you throw the W behind him, R back to your original location, dodge a skill shot, or bait out a certain skill. Use your EQ on the two shadows besides your opponent for the damage, walk back up, W to the shadow you placed earlier, auto attack for the passive, and then you should be good to go. This one requires really fast fingers and is really easy to mess up. However, it is a bit safer, especially if you're low on HP and can't afford to take any hits. Since you're pretty much letting the shadows do a lot of the damage and you're only going back in to pop a summoner spell like Ignite and for your passive. And you want to go back in just as your ultimate is about to explode to put on the last second damage. And this final example is a slightly more clean version of it. Just as I ulti the Brand, I simply put my W right behind him, E, R back to my original shadow, dodges Q, W back to the first shadow, put on my passive, put on Ignite, and get the kill. Alright guys, so those are the 3 advanced Z techniques that I want to mention. I really hope you have learned something new and try to apply these in your next Z games, as I know many of you, after watching some videos, are really trying to learn Z. Keep in mind that some are a lot harder than others and a lot riskier than others as well. But these techniques work very well when you succeed in pulling them off, and on top of that, they look really fancy. But once again, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you have learned something new. Please throw in a like if you did enjoy it. And I also hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace.